we're going to be starting with honorable mentions. The first honorable mention that I'm going to be talking about today is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I know y'all already know about this book. It is super popular. It's been all over every social media that you can find. And y'all know the movie's coming out. I don't know if it's this year, March, or next year. But yeah, guys, Project Hail Mary was an insane read. I believe I rated it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It basically follows a science teacher named Rylan Grace, and he wakes up on a spaceship millions of miles from Earth, alone and with amnesia. He doesn't know that he's on an epic mission to save all of humanity and to save Earth. He doesn't know that. This book was insanely epic. The themes in this book were phenomenal, given culture, given climate change, and all the different things that are kind of happening around the world. But I'm curious to know, have you guys read this book? And if so, what did you like about it and what did you not like about it? And also let me know if you're excited for the movie coming out soon. The next honorable mention I have is The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Y'all, this is an epic Norse inspired fantasy where the gods have died, and you have three warriors, three POVs in this book. They're on their own missions and quests for vengeance, while ancient powers are beginning to awaken. There's power systems, there's demigods, there's politics, there's lots of brutal action. If you're a Vinland Saga fan, this is the perfect fantasy rec for you. There's similar themes, similar powers, and lots of fascinating characters, especially our main character, Orca. I'm not going to say too much. I want you to experience her for the first time going in blind if you haven't read this book already. I rated this a 4.25 stars out of 5. Great book. Would recommend. Up next is book 3 in the epic Sun Eater saga. This is Demon in White by Christopher Ruocchio. If you don't know about Sun Eater, let me give you a quick blurb just to get you on track with what's going on. The Sun Eater saga starts with book 1, which is Empire of Silence. And in that book, and this is no spoilers, this is on the back of the book, we follow a main character named Hadrian Marlowe. Hadrian tells us at the start of the book that he destroyed the sun. So there's the name, the Sun Eater. And this story is a retrospective, him telling the story from the past all the way up to the present when the sun is destroyed to see how that happened and how he was able to fight against an ancient race called the Cielsen. I'm telling you, if you haven't read Sun Eater, please pick this book up, starting with Empire of Silence. I do want to let you know that Empire of Silence is pretty slow. I'm not going to lie. I DNF'd it about a 60% mark because I was just like, man, I don't really see what all the hype is about this series. I feel like it's overhyped. It was long, it was getting dragged out. I felt like there wasn't much going on. But guys, stick it out. Take it from me. Take it from me because I DNF book 1 and had to come back months later to finish it. And around the last 20 to 30% mark of Empire of Silence is where this book takes off. And then book 2, Howling Dark, gets even better. And the end of that book, you'll know. Guys, I'm telling you, trust the process. Don't get discouraged. Push through. The end of Howling Dark goes crazy. And then you get to Demon in White. And this is where the series as a whole just takes off. This is most people's absolute favorite book in the series. So please pick up The Sun Eater. It's an epic sci-fi space opera that you will all love. The next book I have for you guys is Blood Over Bright Haven by Emma Wang. Y'all, first of all, can we just appreciate how beautiful this cover is? Emma Wang did her thing. Let me start off by saying that this book is one of the most phenomenal books and most impactful books, especially given our current time with patriarchy, with fascism, things of that nature going on. You need to read Blood Over Bright Haven now more than ever. This book follows a main character named Siona. She's a young woman who wants to be the first female high mage in their society. Society is obviously very patriarchal. They don't like women becoming mages. Siona is determined to become the first. Siona lives in a society where everything in their world functions on alchemy. Alchemy powers the water system, using the bathroom, taking a shower, heating your food, transportation, lighting, literally every function. Think about our current society and how things get around, how things work and are powered. Everything is powered by alchemy in this society. Siona becomes friends with a janitor named Tomo, who's from this marginalized, second class type of human beings in this society. And together they discover a super dark secret about alchemy and how it functions in their society. And it's about what they're going to do about it. Guys, I'm telling you, if you like mystery, this is for you. If you like alchemy and power systems and great magic systems, this book is for you. If you like themes of capitalism, patriarchy, oppression, marginalization, things of that nature, this book is for you. It hits so many themes, and it's Emma Wang just really did her thing, guys. I'm recommending this book. I think I gave this one a 4.25 or 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm telling you, check this out. This next book I have for you guys is utterly fire. It's called The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. What a phenomenal book. Hey, I love to support Black authors, and Evan Winter, he's him. He's him. He created a story based in African inspiration, but with literal dragons and warrior people and magic systems and lots and lots of violence. So if you're already looking for that, this is a brutal fantasy for you. It follows our main character named Tal, he's a young boy. He just wants to grow up. He doesn't want to get involved in war because the men of the society, once they reach a certain age, they kind of have to get indoctrinated and involved in the war. They're part of the Omehi, which are a warrior tribe, and they have to fight off all the other invaders in their society. Tao was thinking about, hey, how can I get injured so that I can settle down with the love of my life, have kids, and not have to go onto the war effort to end up dead like so many other people do. Until one day, Tao loses somebody who is super important to him. And from that moment on, literally like that, Tao decides that he is going to become the utmost strongest warrior that this society has ever seen so that he can get revenge against those that have wronged him. This book also deals with themes of oppression and second class citizens and whether or not human beings are actually equal. And Tao is from the lowest rung and he's going to climb to the top. So if you like brutal action, you love magic systems, you love large scale wars, and battles, this book is for you. If you love African inspired stories, you love dragons, and lastly, if you love Red Rising, because this is very similar, it's very similar, kind of revolting against the society, then this is for you. All right, guys. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the top 10 books of 2025, starting with number 10, which is The Will of the Many. I already know that I don't need to say too much about this book because everybody and their mom has likely read it and either they liked it or they really didn't like it, right? But I'm here to say that this book was phenomenal from the start to the finish. Was it perfect? No, but I loved it. Reading this at the start of last year really kickstarted my love of fantasy. This book follows a main character named Vis. He's an orphan who lives in a society that's kind of Roman inspired. They live in a society called the hierarchy. And it makes sense. The hierarchy is basically a ladder where somebody's at the top and somebody's at the bottom. And in this society, there's something called will. Will is essentially, you can think of it as a life force, your strength, your brain power, all of it. That is all what kind of what makes up will. And with will, you can have the strength of 1,000 men, of 1,000,000 men. You can just basically become all powerful. And so this hierarchy system, the very top is the princeps, and they take will from lots of people below them. And at the very bottom is the last rung, which is Octavi, and they give up their will. The Octavi give up their will to the next group, and then that group gives up their will to the next group, and you just get exponentially more powerful until you reach princeps. So Vis exists in the society, and he needs to infiltrate an elite academy in order to figure out some deep secrets about their society and what's really going on, as well as to uncover what happened to his family. This is one of just my favorite characters that I've really ever read. He's intelligent, he's smart, he's willing to learn how to trust, but he's not a Mary Sue, as people like to call him, somebody that's just perfect and gets everything right on the first try. I actually think that he had a lot of struggle in this book, and the payoff is really rewarding. So, guys, I'm definitely would recommend reading The Will of the Many if you haven't already. Book two is out, The Strength of the Few, and unfortunately, I really didn't like that book. I kind of DNF'd the book around 80% because I wanted to finish so bad, but I felt like it just went a completely different direction than this book did. But I would encourage you, just because I DNF doesn't mean that you won't like it. There's plenty of people who love it and who think that what James Allington was able to accomplish in that book was phenomenal. So I encourage you to read this, read Strength of the Few, and see what you think. Coming in at number 9 is Kingdoms of Death by Christopher Ruocchio. This is book 4 in the Sun Eater series. And y'all, we already talked about Demon in White. We already talked about how great that book is and how it could have been in top 10, right? But there's a reason why this is my favorite Sun Eater book of all time. Granted, this is the last one I've read out of 7, but guys, Kingdoms of Death took this series to, for me, even another level that was completely different than Demon in White. In this book, the alien species that I was talking about, the Cielsen, the race that eats human beings, right? If you've played Halo, you played the games, you know about the Master Chief, you also know about the elites. Think of the Cielsen as them. Very smart, advanced society of aliens. And in this book, the Cielsen are starting to encroach upon human space, and they're starting to pick off different vessels and ships and killing off soldiers piece by piece. And the leader of the Cielsen, his name is Siriani Doriaika, is uniting all the clans of the Cielsen. There's like hundreds, if not thousands of clans. He's uniting them and saying, I am your leader. This poses a huge threat to Hadrian Marlowe, whose goal is to kill off the Cielsen. And y'all, the battles and things that happen in this book are gonna tear you to shreds emotionally. For me, I'm not gonna lie, I was sobbing at parts of this book, and there's no shame in that. Honestly, for me, books that can raise that level of emotional turmoil means that that book is just that good. It's just that good. And for me, this was an easy 5-star book. If you haven't read Sun Eater yet, now's your chance. Let this be your sign. Coming in at number 8 is Razorblade Tears. Y'all, this book blew me away. It's my first S.A. Cosby book that I've ever read. S.A. Cosby is now one of my auto-buy authors. Like, if he releases a book, I'm buying it instantly. I don't care what anybody says about it. I'm going to support. Razorblade Tears is about two fathers, one white, one black, both ex-cons, who team up to avenge the murders of their two gay sons in this southern noir epic thriller about grief, redemption, and confronting prejudice. Man, this book is so special to me, guys. It's so special to me. Again, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give away any spoilers or say too much about the story. But just know that the character work in this book is phenomenal. And if you read this, I highly recommend immersion reading, which is where you listen to the audiobook and you actually read the physical book on Kindle or the physical copy of the book, because the audiobook is one of the most amazing audiobooks I've ever listened to. The narrator, his name is Adam Lazar White, did a fantastic job. And I rated this book 5 stars, easy 5 stars. Coming in at number 7 is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is one of the best books that I read all of last year, easily, easily. It's also my very first R.F. Kuang book I've ever read. I never read The Poppy War. I never read this last book, Catabasis. I never read this book or Yellowface. Like, this book, I was like, I need to start with this one first because it's the one I see most talked about. It's the one I see most people feeling impacted by. And after reading this, I can honestly say that this is one of the most impactful books I've ever read in my entire life. And I genuinely believe that this book needs to be taught in schools. Like, there are some other books. Let's have some more modern ones because this book is it. I was so close to rating this one 6 stars, but ended up giving it 5 stars, which is obviously still amazing. If you haven't read it yet, get on it. Babel is dark academia at its best. And it's also a fantasy exploring the themes of colonialism at the Oxford Royal Institute of Translation in the 1830s. The magic system is super unique. The characters are some of the, again, the best characters that I've ever read in most books. The main character, Robin, fantastic, and all the other side characters are phenomenal. And I think that the themes of this book are so important given what's going on in our society. Again, colonialism, fascism, oppression, marginalization, genocide. These are all things that are covered in this book through an intricate story with an amazing magic system. And I just don't know how R.F. Kuang was able to weld all these concepts and themes together in such an impactful story, but she did it. And I highly recommend this book if you haven't read it. Let this be your first R.F. Kuang book like it was for me. Coming in at number 6 is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Y'all, this book is one of my favorite reads of all time, not just 2025. This is actually my very first romance book that I've ever read. I always thought growing up, oh, like, why would I read romance? That's for women. That's not for me. And I'm here to tell you right now that this series and this book is one of the best books, again, that I've ever read, not just out of romance. Kennedy Ryan is a genius. She writes romance that is about real life. It's not your typical cut and dry romance with teenagers and yearning and all that kind of stuff. Like, yes, this has yearning, but this book essentially follows a main character named Yasmin and her ex husband, Josiah, who unfortunately have had a traumatic thing happen in their life. And because of that traumatic thing, they get divorced. And this is essentially a story of how they find their way back to each other. And it's about the journey along the way. And when I say that this is such an important story to read, because it teaches us a lot about what would we do in times of trial in our own relationships. I gave this book an easy 5 stars, one of the easiest 5 stars I've given all year. And I genuinely believe that Kennedy Ryan is one of the most amazing authors out there. Before I Let Go is actually book one of the Skyland series. So the next two books are This Is Us and Can't Get Enough. And each of these books are 5 stars on their own. This is my favorite one for sure. I highly, highly, highly recommend you guys check this book out. Moving on to number 5 is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This book, I feel like I'm doing this for every book where I'm just saying it's amazing. But again, this is my top 10 of 2025. And honestly, these are some of my top 10 probably ever. So let me just be the first person to say, if you haven't seen it already, that The Raven Scholar is to me the epitome of fantasy. It's arguably to me one of the most amazing fantasy books ever written. Easily, easily, easily. And keep in mind, this book was also written in 2025. It's a very new book, basically brand new. And I thought this book was phenomenal. Again, it's another one I gave 5 stars. It basically follows a young lady named Nima Croft, who was essentially accused of murder. She has to uncover what actually happened in order to prove her innocence and to avoid being taken out, right? This is an epic fantasy, one of the most unique and insane magic systems that I've ever read. I'm telling you guys, it's phenomenal. And if you read this book, please, again, immersion reading or even just listening to audiobook on its own is a valid thing to do, because I think that the audiobook for this is better than any book that I've ever read, by far, even better than Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I know a lot of you have read. The Raven Scholar to me has the best audiobook ever, and really is not even close if you ask me. So yeah, have you guys read Raven Scholar? Like, do you feel like the hype for this book is appropriate, or do you feel like I'm overblowing it? Have you heard of it? Is it on your TBRs? If it's not, I want you guys to check it out and then circle back and let me know what you think of it. Coming in at number 4 is the infamous Golden Sun, which is book 2 of the Red Rising series. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie, when I first read Red Rising, the very first book, I was like, is this what everybody has been hyping up? Because for me, I really, really disliked Red Rising. I thought it was like a very cheap knockoff of the Hunger Games, just set in space, cast systems. I was interested in the premise, but the way that it progressed and some of the things that were happening just didn't work for me. The writing also, I felt like, was subpar. And everybody told me over on TikTok, if you don't like Red Rising, read book 2 and it's going to blow you away. They literally swore and promised to me that this book would blow me away. And I'm here to tell you that this book was phenomenal. This is the second book ever that I gave 6 stars. So it basically broke my rating scale of a typical 1 to 5 stars. This was 6 stars. Easily, 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 easily. The things Darrow goes through in this book, the epic fights, space battles, the characters, the themes, the scope, it's just endlessly getting better. And to me, this is the best book out of the 4 I've read. I've read up to Iron Gold. I loved Iron Gold too, but Golden Sun is an amazing book. I highly recommend, if you're somebody who's been on the fence with the Red Rising series, you feel like maybe it's too many books, you feel like it's overhyped. Let me be, again, somebody to tell you that it's not overhyped. I was a hater. I'm not gonna lie. I was a hater of the first book, and now I'm one of its staunchest advocates. This is a series where there's a caste system, where there's overthrowing of the oligarchy or tyranny, the people who are in power to keep everybody enslaved and subjugated. I think these themes are super, super, super important in this time. I'm going to keep saying it. I really do think these themes are super important in this time, because what's going on in this world is evil and it's horrible. And I think that fiction and fantasy, it's not just something that's in the pages. It's something that's supposed to inspire us to look around and look outside and see what's going on and to be able to recognize evil when we see it. So again, highly recommend this book. I feel like if we're readers, we need to be critical thinkers. You have to be able to stand on the side of the resistance and the oppressed and the marginalized. And I think this book and this series does an amazing job of showing what tyranny and revolution looks like. Coming in at number three is Jade Legacy by Fonda. This book blew me away in the end of 2025 when I read it. Literally, to me, the most perfect and phenomenal endings to a trilogy, to a fantasy series ever, by far, easily. Like, there's nothing that y'all can tell me. I mean, if you think you have some ideas of what's better, let me know in the comments, but I would be hard pressed to find anything that's better than Jade Legacy in the way that it concluded the series. Jade Legacy is book three of the Greenbone Saga. And if you don't know what the Greenbone Saga is, let me paint a picture for you. It basically follows the Call family, who you can think of as leaders of not criminals, but like a gang or like a mafia style family. And the Call family are the leaders of the No Peak clan. And then on the other side, their enemies are the Mountain clan, who are led by Ait Madashi. If you're a fan of The Sopranos, you're a fan of The Godfather, you're a fan of crime families and crime lords and how those families duke it out with each other, then this book is for you. If you're a fan of fantasy, this is for you because this is actually my first urban fantasy series that I've ever read. So, urban fantasy meaning that it takes place in a society that's kind of like you can look outside if you live in a city. That's kind of where it takes place. And the power system in this series is phenomenal. The characters in this series are phenomenal. If you haven't read the Greenbone Saga, starting with Jade City, I highly recommend starting the series. Call Hilo is probably my top three favorite characters in all of fantasy, easily. And I feel like this series doesn't get enough credit, it doesn't get enough recognition. And I'm here to tell you, please check out this series, add it to your TBRs if you haven't read it. Let me know in the comments, like, what did y'all think about this series? What did you think of Jade City? Did you think it was overhyped? Some people think it's overhyped, some people think it's the best thing since sliced bread. But I loved it. I want to know what you guys think too. Coming in at number two, we have The Sword of Kaigen, which is one of the most elite books that I've ever read. This book blew me away. I saw Smitty talking about how this book broke his rating scale, 6 stars for him. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, can a book really break a rating scale? This is the first one I picked up from his recommendations, and I thought it was one of the most amazing books that I'd ever read. This was actually my number one favorite book for all of 2025 up until December, where I read book number one, which we'll get to next. I think this book is phenomenal. It essentially follows the Matsuda family, who are this ancient warrior family who have an elite magical powers of water and ice. They live on a peninsula called the Kusanagi Peninsula, and at the location where they live, they defend the rest of the empire against invaders, against their enemies. And because they've done so well at defending the peninsula, they've earned the name the Sword of Kaigen, which is where you get the title. The characters in this, Misagi, she's a mom. You follow her point of view and you follow her son's point of view, Mamoru right here, as they have to navigate what it means that their government has essentially been lying to them about what's going on outside of their empire. They've been told that they're the greatest. They've been told that the rest of the world is a certain way. And they're starting to learn and uncover that things are not what they seem. And not only that, but war is coming. And this family and the people in their society have to decide whether or not to fight for their country given the lies that they've been told and whether or not they're going to believe them. I love this story because it explores the themes of motherhood, what it means to be a woman in an extremely patriarchal society, especially because Misaki was a warrior who's had to give up that life because she's become a mom and married into this Matsuda family. So there's themes of patriarchy, there's themes of oppression. Again, you see some common themes in the books that I like. Essentially, this is a book about duty, family, and the cost of patriotism. Guys, I beg you, this can easily be one of the best books you've ever read in your entire life. If you haven't read it yet, pick it up. You're not going to regret it, but I think that this is one of the best works of fantasy ever created, easily. And now it's time for number one, and this book is Hyperion by Dan Simmons. This is a book that changed my life forever. I read this at the end of the year in December, and every other book essentially from that point on failed to compare. It just failed to compare. I'm so passionate about this book, guys. I genuinely think that this is the best work of art ever created. And let me tell you why. This is a book that's kind of structured like the Canterbury Tales, but in space. And it's strange, but I genuinely think that it works. You have six pilgrims who are traveling to meet this terrifying creature called the Shrike. And each pilgrim tells their story about how they ended up on this journey. So you have six point of views in this book. And here's the thing, every single story in this book is almost a completely different genre. So each of the perspectives are basically genre hopping and shifting the entire time throughout this book. You get detective noir, you get war epic, you get horror, you also get this devastating family drama, all in these here pages. Dan Simmons basically said, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna write six different stories in six different genres and merge them all into one book. And my God, he did it and he did it perfectly. And guys, the prose in this book is some of the most gorgeous writing that I've ever read. I genuinely think that this book helped me to be able to just sit in a book and appreciate the writing for the writing. I genuinely didn't want to read quickly in this book because every word I was kind of hanging on the edge of every word. It's the first time that I've really almost appreciated the book more for the writing than the plot. And that's saying something because I'm a very plot forward and plot centered type of person. This book tackles some very massive themes that I think are very prevalent to today. I believe this book was written in the 1970s and everything still holds up to this day. It talks about what happens when AI evolves past human beings. What does it mean to be human when you can transfer consciousness? It talks about the rights of nations to defend themselves. Again, another theme that keeps coming back in a lot of the books that I love. And it also talks about religion and faith when your gods might actually be machines. Guys, it's phenomenal. And this is like the tip of the iceberg, the stuff I'm telling you. I want you to go in as blind as possible into this book. Yes, it's sci-fi, but in reality, this book is multiple genres welded together in an amazing way. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys, but I just have to say before I log off that the scholar's tale in this book is insane. Literally made my jaw drop, literally made me cry. I couldn't believe what I had just read. Again, Dan Simmons is elite. He's a master worker of writing, of poetry, of art, all of it. I'm begging you guys, read Hyperion. If you love sci-fi, this is essentially the godfather of sci-fi. It's actually one of the main inspirations for the Sun Eater series that I talked about. So guys, I'm telling you, read this book. Let me know if you've read it. What did you think about my top 10? Do you agree with some of these? Would you recommend some other ones? I'm always open to suggestions. And this is my first video here on YouTube. I'm hoping y'all will support me and I'm hoping y'all will follow along and subscribe and just kind of follow me along on my reading journey. Thanks, guys. Peace.